Namaste everyone. My name is Venkata Raghavan and I'm Assistant Professor at the School of Philosophy, Psychology and Scientific Heritage at Chinmaya Vishwa. As today's moderator, I welcome you all to this 11th talk as part of the CVV's global series, which is aimed at being an interactive career guidance sessions. Also, on behalf of Chinmaya Vishwa, I would like to extend a special welcome to our today's speaker, Bhuvana Arun. Bhuvana ji is an academic and career counselor. She is an engineer by qualification and she started her career with the Western Sydney University and later worked in the telecommunication industry in Australia. On returning to India, she joined a Cambridge International School and established their academic counseling cell. She has also established her own academic career counseling venture called The Path Ahead in 2020. It provides various services like helping the students pick the right program, the right university, providing guidance for competitive exams, writing SOP, and many other related services. I had a chance to visit their website. It is peppered with many motivational quotes by great people and which inspire the children and also young adults to make best use of their abilities and talents, prepare properly, plan properly, and also realize their goals despite challenges. One quote which caught my attention was, "It's not what you achieve, it's what you overcome. That's what defines your career." So it was, I really related to that. Throughout her professional life, she has worked with hundreds of students and parents, planning their career roadmaps, building them in, guiding them in their academic aspirations, and thereby achieving their goals. She has extensive experience in processing university applications for India, USA, UK, Australia, Singapore, Canada, Germany, France, South Korea, and Japan. Particularly, she has completed university admission courses from the British Council and the University of Pennsylvania. On the non-professional side, she is a very passionate traveler. She has traveled more than 20 countries. Bhuvana ji, welcome to the CVV Global Series. I request you to now address our participants. The talk will be for about 30 to 40 minutes. And after that, the forum will be open for questions. Bhuvana ji, over to you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Venkat Raghavan, for the lovely introduction. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the discussion on psychology careers. In today's session, we're going to be looking at the various conventional as well as up-and-coming career prospects for psychology majors. As my presentation progresses, I would like you to imagine that you are a real practicing psychologist. As we walk through this experience, you can then conclude whether this career is really for you. Before we begin, please note that I am not a psychologist by profession. I am an academic counselor, I'm a career counselor, and I've worked with several students in identifying their skills and helping them realize their career dreams. Yeah, so let's get started. Whenever we open the newspaper these days or turn on the TV or anywhere in media, we are surrounded by news about current world issues like the Taliban situation, the pandemic impact, social media influences, and even our online learning experience. This is so exhausting. As you can see here, in today's world, even a battery wants to focus on the positive side of things. So no wonder we have psychology careers that are trending. So who is a psychologist? The moment we say psychologist, we think of our exposure to media makes us think of comfortable couches in neutral tones, stunted conversations, awkward pauses, and let's not forget hourly payment rates. So psychology has gained a lot of popularity in recent times. We constantly hear things like interdisciplinary skills, soft skill development, gig economy. So with the evolution of new age universities like CVV in India, we talk a lot more about liberal arts and psychology than ever before. So who is a psychologist? I was casually mentioning this to my husband, and he joked that a psychologist is a person who borrows your watch, listens to you rant about not being able to identify the time, then goes on to tell you the time, and finally charges you payment for it. Jokes aside, who really is a psychologist? In short, psychology is a study of human behavior. Yet, it's a lot more than that. Psychologists examine the relationship between brain function and behavior. They also they also analyze how situations impact our behavior, applying that to help in our self-development. This in turn enhances the world around us. So psychology on its own is not just for our personal growth. It is for the development of the world we live in. This is the reason why there is such high interest in psychology these days. So, as I mentioned before, I asked you to visualize yourself as a practicing psychologist. So, next step I should tell you, right? So, is psychology the right career choice for me? Let's look at the suitability parameters one by one. First is your interest in the subject. In order to major in psychology, what are the subjects I need in school? Obviously, you should have an interest in psychology, that is a given. English is a must for communication these days. So, that is definitely a very important subject to have. Biology for understanding of our human physiology. So, that is also something that really helps in BSc psychology, which CVV offers. Mathematics, the people don't talk much about this in India, but outside of India, mathematics is a very valuable skill to have for psychology, in especially statistics. So, why we will see a little bit later. Because there will be situations where you have to prepare numerous reports, surveys, and you need to analyze this. So, analyze data. For that reason, mathematics is really valuable. Learning commerce or business studies can be really useful if you're looking at a career in corporate psychology. So all these things are just subject requirements. What about my personality? It would be great if you have a clear conscience as well as a kind, helpful, and caring nature to be a psychologist. Your lifestyle. What kind of work-life balance will I have if I pursue a career in psychology? Generally, psychologists work normal office hours. If it is a hospital, then there sometimes may be shift work involved. Schools and college counselors also keep normal hours unless there are trainings or running awareness programs, or like this, we are working on weekends, right? So that's a one-off. It's not usually considered under the regular workload. So next, where will the work be based? This is also cool for psychology. You're mostly based only in you see clients only in your office or in a clinic. There may be situations where you may have to visit institutions or homes in emergency or grief-stricken areas. Then there may be field visits also, but all those are exceptions. They are quite rare in this field. Generally, it's an office-based job. Let's look at the skill set that makes for a good psychologist. Obviously, I mentioned this before, English language, so communication is key. And communication is key not just for psychology, it is a mandatory requirement for almost any desk job in the world these days. So, being able to communicate comfortably and confidently is an extremely important skill to possess. As a psychologist specifically, listening is a beautiful skill to have. Listening carefully to your clients, empathizing with their situation, yet handling them in a depersonalized manner is very important. What does depersonalized mean here? Psychologists have to be friendly with their clients, but they're not their friend. So that means you will be able to relate to people and remain calm with clients who may be distressed. Many a times, psychologists have to work with other healthcare professionals to take care of their patients. So, having an interest in science and strong commitment to learning new skills is a definite bonus here. Other skills that may be very useful to pick up are good problem solving and decision making skills. There is likely to be plenty of documentation in this field. So reporting and organizing skills are useful, but those you pick up as you go. So it's not like you have with our Indian system, we are very used to writing 3-year exam papers. So documentation is not new to us. I'm sure that we'll do a stellar job at that. So it really helps to stay disciplined and follow the guidelines for treatment plans very carefully. Finally, having a good sense of humor, laughing it off, will make you more relatable to your clients, because this will help them in easing up and opening up to you more about their issues. That's why I also mentioned earlier that psychologists have to be friendly, but not their friend. So some of these skills can easily set you apart in the field of psychology. Next, where do we find psychology professionals? See, the familiar career choices are academic, clinical, or organizational in nature. As you can see here, according to the data from American Psychological Association, majority work, that is over 40% of psychologists, are employed in an academic environment. So it can be primary schools, secondary schools, senior secondary schools, colleges, universities, you name it. Then comes the medical sector psychologists, which is close to 30%, maybe 28% to be exact. Then we're looking at government sector, which is about 8%, and then business consulting services, which is about 6%. Again, please note that this report is from the American Psychological Association. In India, with increasing awareness, there is a lot of scope in improving these numbers, especially in the academic and corporate sectors. So how psychologists are placed in these fields will be explained in the next slide now. So what are some conventional psychology careers? Counseling psychologists, school psychologists, rehabilitation psychologists, developmental psychologists, family and marriage psychologists, all of them fall under the clinical psychology professionals category. Industry psychologists, quantitative psychologists, human resources, and sales representatives. They belong to the organizational professional category. Forensic psychologists, which is criminal psychology, public service psychologists, and social workers. They belong to the government and non-government organizations professional category. Here, I should mention that for postgraduate aspirants, Chinmaya Vishwa Vidyapeeth University's MSc program offers 3 specializations. One in clinical and health psychology, another in industrial and organizational psychology, the third one in educational and school psychology. Please note that the qualification required to practice clinical psychology is an MPhil in clinical psychology. On top of that, you should have a license from the Rehabilitation Council of India or RCI. So where else can I find a psychologist? Where else can I become a psychologist? In this cartoon, there is humor about the big shots in a company wearing stuffy coats and saying, what if, I know this sounds kooky, we communicated with the employees. So there is growing focus on the well-being and mental health of employees in the corporate sector. Organizations achieve this by advertising and employing psychologists in human resource department, training department, counseling department, marketing department, and even in technology these days. These are called new age career opportunities. Let's look at a few of them that are relevant for psychology. The first I want to discuss about is sports and performance psychology. With our interest in sports expanding from cricket to football to Olympics to recently even the Paralympics, there is also focus on the mental well-being of our sports people. They deal with intense competition, physical setbacks. Then there's also looming retirement because they have a very short window to achieve things, after which they are their body doesn't cooperate with the amount of rigor they put for their sport. So all this has caused celebrities in India like PV Sindhu, Virat Kohli and all to open up about their mental health. So there is definite scope and a very popular choice among recent students to consider sports and performance psychology. The next one is an option that is beautiful, actually, according to me. It's called art therapy. It combines the healing power of art with therapy, obviously, with the use of colors and visual media. This has gained momentum in recent times, especially for psychologists who work with either children or old people. In fact, you can check out on YouTube. There is a popular TV show in UK and Australia. It's called Old People's Home for 4-year-olds. What happens here is, we know according to we know in the Western culture, it's very common for the older generation to live in nursing homes when they're not able to take care of themselves. So there are groups of 4-year-old children who visit the old people in their nursing homes. So these are people in their late 80s, 90s, and obviously loneliness sets in at that age. So children go visit them and they draw with them, play with them, sing with them, play dress up with them, and just wholly spend a lot of time with them. It is a beautiful show about the impacts these kids and elders both have on each other, because there may be children from broken families, there may be children with their own set of issues who come in there, and they heal when they are balanced with an elderly there. And the elderly heal because they feel younger, they feel more energetic around these children, and it's just a show that puts a smile on people's face. So please go check it out. It's called Old People's Home for 4-year-olds. Again, moving on, we have to look at corporate psychology. I mentioned it briefly before. We saw about marketing, advertising, market research. So understanding behavior patterns and applying them in the field of marketing research is a big part of corporate psychology. Also, employing psychologists in their human resource department has given corporate organizations the opportunity to hire and retain the right kind of talent. So this is a very research intense type of psychology. The next one is again research intense as well. This is using technology in psychology in technology. Sorry. So it's a new age career where cutting edge research in artificial intelligence using intuitive technology or even human robo interaction and communication training in cognitive robotics. All this use psychology a lot these days. Another related career, which is again trending a lot, is data mining or data science. Data mining with psychology using statistics is very popular. This is why I mentioned earlier, in India, most colleges do not require mathematics as an entry requirement for psychology, especially statistics, but it helps a lot if we have to analyze data day in and day out. So if many of your peers and extended friends and family may talk about data science as a trending career, it helps a lot. Yes, they talk about Python coding, but it helps a lot to know statistics and mathematics and the ability to analyze and infer from data at the end of the day. The last one is actually a googly. It is gaming psychology. We have designing games and synthetic characters. Gaming has gained an explosive interest in recent times, the pandemic notwithstanding. But how to apply psychology in gaming? To develop more real, lifelike characters to be portrayed in games, to get us hooked and to make us play continuously, to improve our focus while we are playing. Psychology is used in the lighting of games, in sound effects, in the immersion techniques, color coding the games, the thrill of nearly reaching the target, but just not so. So you just miss it. And so you want to play once more. So all these are navigation tricks that involve psychology heavily. So if you have a passion for gaming and want to learn game designing, and if you want to pursue a career in psychology, they both marry very well. So these are beautiful options that you can consider. Where else can I use my psychology major? Combining a few of the fields we just discussed so far may be a good starting point. So, for example, in this cartoon humor, we see the patient asking the psychologist, "Shouldn't I tell you about myself?" And the psychologist is responding, "Not necessary, just show me your Facebook ads." So, our Facebook advertisements, which I'm sure you're familiar with, Dr. Venkatragan was just telling me a little bit. I said I'll drag him into this conversation for sure. So, he was telling me how his Facebook ads have changed over time. Dr. Venkatraman, can you share with us the humor that you wanted to discuss?
Well, yeah, the small anecdote from my personal life was that I was getting these very really annoying ads about matrimonial sites from various matrimonial sites prompting me to get married because my status was still single. So I got irritated by that and I changed my relationship status to married. So from the very next day, I started getting ads like honeymoon package, cure for baldness, back therapy, and stuff like that. So just by changing one button, Facebook automatically assumed these things and started giving me new advertisements. So that's what I was sharing when I saw this slide. Thank you.
That's beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that. I also want to add personally, for some reason, not just Facebook, Google, Amazon, everywhere I log in, they're starting to tell me to buy age-defying beauty products. For a woman in 30s, I think that's the popular thing. I think at least honeymoon packages and being single and being shown pretty girls is far and more interesting than buying more products to make me look younger. That's just sad. I don't even think about that. So anyway, let's move on. When we were discussing Facebook advertisements, they are a combination of psychology, social media marketing, and data science. This is called predictive modeling. Here, the application is predicting and customizing our next likely purchase, either based on previous purchases or our browsing history. So their psychology is combining marketing, data science, as well as human behavior here. Moving on. So, okay, I've decided to become a psychologist now. What is it like? What is my day-to-day, what are my day-to-day roles and responsibilities? Let's look at a day in the life of a psychologist. If you are a clinical psychologist, your basic roles and responsibilities will include counseling individuals, groups, or families to help them understand their problems, deal with crisis situations, define goals, and develop realistic action plans. You will be identifying psychological, emotional, and behavioral issues, or you'll be diagnosing disorders. You'll be developing therapeutic treatment plans based on clients' interest, abilities, and needs. If you are a school or college counselor, your basic roles and responsibilities will include working with young and adolescent children as a trusted advisor for their social and emotional needs, preparing awareness campaigns to promote self-reflection and ethical thinking. In India, especially, there is a big demand for helping students deal with exam pressure and parental expectations. So, if there are school-going students in this talk, you may be able to relate to that. So, there is a gap that a psychologist can fill here to ease the pressure and anxiety that parents and students have surrounding the exam-related anxieties. Guiding teachers and parents, providing educational programs on topics such as classroom management, teaching strategies, or parenting skills. If you're a corporate psychologist, you work in an organization, your basic roles and responsibilities will include conducting research on the work environment, organizational structure, communication systems, and group interactions. Formulating interview techniques, rating scales, and psychological tests that are used to assess skills, abilities, and interest of employees when we hire them. Lastly, if you're an independent consultant or you're freelancing, so you have your own clinic and you are a practicing psychologist, it would be nice to be able to have all the to take up all the responsibilities we discussed before. But on top of that, I would definitely recommend learning to manage and run your own consultancy or business. I'm going through that now personally. So there is a lot of factors involved here, which I wasn't aware of before because I was working as part of another academic organization. So what are those? So they will include paying for the location, amenities, bookkeeping, taxes, insurance, certifications, personal development. So you need to invest on yourself, right? You are the commodity. You are selling yourself, so you need to invest on yourself. Staff, maintenance. So this is something that you should keep in mind in the long run. Obviously, when you're picking up the starting your career, you will want to work with someone to understand the tricks of the trade and to see whether it's a career that you can establish on your own and whether you can network well enough to make it a lucrative business option for you. So once that is done, you will have to factor in all these things to run your own consultancy, consulting service. So let's sum it up. Now that we have discussed all the basic things that we need to know about psychology, let's look at the positive aspects of a psychology career. This is an up and coming field with varied present and future job market demands. We just saw that earlier. The work is never boring. It's a lot of fun. You will get to interact with so many people, and no two people are the same, right? So no two requirements are the same, and no two treatments are the same, and no two approaches are the same. So for people who love helping others, who care for others, this is an excellent career choice. When we look at positives, we should also look at the challenges here. What are the challenges? The work can get stressful at times, which is why I mentioned earlier, you need to learn to depersonalize. That means you need to have a healthy work-life balance and to be able to separate yourself from your job. It also takes time to establish yourself, to make a mark for yourself, to network and be so valuable that you can do this on your own and people will still come to you. People will still seek you out. So that takes a little bit of time. But in most careers, that is the case these days. So all things said and done, is psychology a good career option for you? For some people, yes. Yet, for most, it is their passion. With these pointers, I want you to reflect on whether psychology as a career is the right option for you. That brings us to the conclusion of my presentation. At this point, I hope you are able to position yourself to consider psychology as a career. Before we go, please note that Chinmaya Vishwa Vidyapeeth University offers 2 psychology courses. One is BSc in Applied Psychology, which is an honors program. The second one is MSc in Applied Psychology. Also, if you wish for more private or one-to-one academic and career counseling services, please email me at bhuvana@thepathahead.in or visit my website www.thepathahead.in. If you have any questions or queries, I will be happy to address them now. Over to you, Dr. Venkatraghavan.
Yeah, thank you very much, madam. It was very, very informative talk. You set out, it was very interesting that you set out both the traditional avenues available for psychologists and also the new age ones that are available. I mean, some of them were really, what you said were googly only. That game design especially, I really admit that was a googly only. I did not expect that psychologists will be employed in designing characters and such things. Which reminded me of a particular series that I'm watching right now called The Westworld. It is from America. In that, they a lot of these elements goes in designing some of the characters in a particular fictional world that they have created over there. So it was very interesting. And you have also given a recommendation to start their own practice with time, etc., and what are the challenges that they will face in that. And instead of simply focusing on the positives, you have also told them or cautioned them about the challenges that they will be facing, and they should keep that in mind when they start ahead on this journey. So now the floor is open for questions. So one question that I have immediately, madam. Math is a prerequisite. PM is math prerequisite. So there is someone, Preeti Kumar. If you are there in the audience, could you please explain your question? Bhuvanaji had touched upon the importance of math, but whether it is a prerequisite or not, in what sense you meant it, if you can please elaborate, she can answer the question perhaps a little better. Yeah, please go ahead.
So, hi, Bhuvna, the Preeti here. I just wanted to understand. We're talking about this course, BSc, in a course which you've mentioned about the BSc and the MSc. So, with regards to BSc, my question was referring to that. Is math in your institute, in your university, a prerequisite? Bhuvna did mention that normally in India, math is not a prerequisite, but just in particularly to your university. Yeah, that's where my question is from.
Okay, I think Bhunaji, I think I can take it if you can answer in general about the importance of math. But to my knowledge, mathematics is not a prerequisite. The BSc Applied Psychology Honors is open to all members of those who have passed their 12th class. But there are courses in mathematics as part of their curriculum. So it is not a prerequisite. So if there is any change, it will be available on our university website. You can check it out. But I guess Bhunaji, go ahead.
In the same line, an additional question is there any specific subject requirement for your courses with regards to psychology?
No, I should say I do not have that much details of what are the specific prerequisites that are there for the admission into the BSc Honors program. Our website has the information about this. If not, our admissions team will always get in touch with you. You can drop in a message to them and they will clear up what are the prerequisites for the program.
Thank you.
But perhaps Bhunaji, you can talk generally about the importance.
Math in India is not a requirement for most courses related to psychology. Psychology can be approached in two ways. One is BSc Psychology, the other one is BA Psychology. So you can be a Bachelor of Science or you can be a Bachelor of Arts. Very few universities offer Bachelor of Arts in India, and they focus more on the organizational and corporate side of things in BA Psychology. In BSc Psychology, the focus is definitely more on clinical psychology, and it is the more popular option overall. So in order to study clinical psychology, it helps to have the sciences, especially biology. Math is not a requirement for either of these. Most universities will just take a student with a 12th pass as the basic entry requirement. It is good to have. Outside of India, definitely, I think most countries, there are a few exceptions in the UK and Australia, in the US and Australia, but most countries like Canada or UK and all, you definitely need math to even apply for psychology. So there is that requirement changes according to the university you're applying, according to the course you are applying to, which is a BSc or a BA course, and the country choice that you have. I hope that answered your question.
And our host has pasted the link to our university website and also the helpline for our admissions. So if you need any such information specifically about a program, what are the prerequisites, etc., you can please contact or visit the website. So anyone... So meanwhile, while I get other questions in the chat, I myself have one question, madam. I think you had mentioned that 37% of the psychologists are still in the university and such academic institutions. Isn't that that statistics was about that? So was that the statistic particularly about India, or was it generally all over the world?
That statistics is from the American Psychological
Oh,
Association.
okay. Right. Right.
So in India, it is an emerging career field. Psychology
Oh,
as such is emerging because people are now realizing the importance of mental well-being, especially because of the
yes.
pandemic situation that we are in now. We are humans are social animals. We do thrive on interaction and communication with others, which is quite stunted because of the times that we live in these days.
Mm-hmm.
In India, there is almost every private school there is a psychologist in place, if not several. They had and many of them do specialize separately. So elementary and primary school will have different set of requirements for a psychologist. The middle school psychologists will work on different other issues, and high school psychologists will have their own agenda with their students. So depending on the age group also, there are different ways of tackling the different approaches to psychology there. Again, in colleges and universities also, many students do have situations where they live away from home and they may be homesick at times. So, or they may not be very sure about how to venture into the real world and step into adulthood and take up their career path and realize their dream. So emotional needs are going to be abundant in the growing years, which is why academics and school and college and university related psychologists are very, very popular.
Oh,
That doesn't mean that there are not adults don't need the emotional support. We do, but that awareness is very limited in India. So we
correct.
still have to. In fact, if you have the time, please do check out the previous global series session on psychology in the 2020s by Professor Srivalsa Kumar. He has delivered an insightful talk on the role of psychologists in addressing current world issues. So he's talked about everything: Taliban situation, our pandemic, social media. He's talked about online learning experience. So, in fact, in retrospect, I feel that I'm very fortunate to directly follow through from his talk to just show the direction for students as to what they can do next.
Hmm.
So, please do check it out.
I think the takeaway from Bhunaji's answer is that for the young adults and children in India, psychology is still a very, very fresh field where there are a lot of opportunities. So you can really think about it as a career path. So another question that I have is that one may not have all the skills that are required. You had presented a few set of skills, like nearly eight skills or nine skills you had presented that are some sort of recommended to have. So someone has asked that one may not have all those skills that are required. So can we convert psychology from profession to profession, from passion to profession, by acquiring some of these skills on the way? So that leads us to a connected question: that which of these skills can be cultivated and which are the ones which you think cannot be cultivated?
Depersonalization is hard for me personally. I find it quite hard, so I shouldn't preach what I don't practice myself.
Right.
That is one skill I truly am cultivating every single day, where every student who comes to me, I put myself as their parent or as their in their situation. What are the things I did wrong? Where can I go wrong? So that part I always struggle with. Communication is very easy to build on. Having a pulse on the current market trend, reading the newspaper every day, it's a lost tradition in most homes, but that's a beautiful skill to cultivate, especially because papers are not very expensive these days. So you could get a yearly subscription of Times of India for 500-600 rupees and go through it, flip through it for 10 minutes in the morning with your morning coffee or tea. So communication is very easy to build on. Listening skills are easy to cultivate because as we pick up these skills over time, we do get the opportunity to see things from other people's perspective, and that helps us listen and be pause for a little before we move forward. Responsibility, taking responsibility, bookkeeping, accounting, organization skills, reporting skills. Our Indian system and our upbringing and our heritage has trained us for that very well. So I don't think that is a major issue. Most people will have that. So but the only thing I would say is, if you are a kind and helpful person, if you're really passionate about this field, there isn't much else you need to work on at all. Everything else will fall automatically. And please focus on the communication, so you're more relatable, and laugh it off at the end of the day, because that's something I'm learning to do now, but I would definitely recommend for others.
Yeah, I would like to add here that as soon as, in my opinion, as soon as you use the word skill, it means that it is acquirable. So all skills are, that is the very definition of the word skill, I would say. But one very difficult skill, if you want to call it a skill, to acquire as part of the list that you had shown is empathy. That is really very difficult, to really show empathy. Most of us feel sympathy, but we are never able to put ourselves in that person's shoes. So my input to whoever has asked this question is to try and gather as much experience as possible. I have found that the more experience we gather, the more empathetic we become. So that would be, if at all you are asking for my suggestion. The difference is that sympathy, when you empathize with someone, you still don't have to agree with them. So that is one difference. There is a lot of difference between, there are some few differences between empathy and sympathy in the little bit that I know. That when you do sympathize with somebody, you are that is kind of an affectionate response that you give to their situation. Whereas in empathy, you don't really agree with them, you don't really have to support them or anything, but you understand what they are going through. That is one of the distinction between the two. One other question that I have is, can I pursue masters in psychology after a BTech? And what would be the major difference between studying in India and abroad? So I think these are two separate questions. You can take them separately. So do you know of any master's programs in psychology after BTech who allow even BTech students? Are you aware of any such programs?
There may be this is actually a very good question, because students do tend to change their career path after an undergrad level, where we just follow the flow, we go with the flow, what everybody does. Engineering is definitely a safe option. So BTech means 4 years, and then we can figure out what you want to do. That's what I did. I came into engineering with my eyes closed and I had no clue. So I can understand where this question is coming from. I will combine the two questions to answer
Oh,
this.
okay.
One is studying psychology abroad as a specialization, and after having a technical background in India. The technical background can actually help a lot in looking at a situation objectively. So based on my experience, it becomes easier to take responsibility and to analyze the situation and logically think for a solution to a situation if we have a technical background. So that part definitely helps. If you want to take up this as a specialization, most universities abroad may ask for a foundation year. So if it's a 2-year master's program, they may ask you to do a foundation year to get your basics sorted before you do the specialization. What I would in turn suggest, instead of just jumping on to doing a foundation and then your master's, if you are a BTech student, you are welcome to try working in an environment that involves psychology heavily, be it in a corporate organization or an academic institution. Gain the experience that is required to then see if psychology is the correct career option for you in your master's, and then pursue your master's, because master's is a specialization. If you are a fresh graduate and you're not sure about what to do next, I would not recommend a specialization as the first thing. So just test the waters, just go and put yourself out there in the real world environment and see your suitability for a master's program before you venture into a master's, be it in India or anywhere else in the world. I hope that answers your question.
So I have just been informed by my admissions team that CBV does allow students from other backgrounds to join MSc psychology course. So there you are. So whoever, I think someone has asked me this question, Shirisha. So there you go. You can contact our admissions office for more information. Madam, I just request you to check your chat if in case there are any questions in your chat window. Here there.
No, I can't see anything here. Dr. Venkat, we can also consider opening up the discussion to other career options as
Yes.
well. If students have any questions related to that, not just psychology. We pretty much covered the flow for psychology here. So
Yeah.
any other career related questions, I'm happy to
Sure.
answer. We
Yes.
have 10 odd minutes left. So.
Yeah. Yeah. So Bhuvana ji has academic and career counseling experience in other streams also. So if any of the participants have questions related to other fields, they can also send in their questions. You can raise your hand in the raise hand button, and our IT team will unmute you. Right. So I think I've not received any questions so far. So I am tempted to ask one question if you permit, and I think this will help not just psychology and but also other streams who are interested in setting up their own practice. Let us say, so this is not just limited to psychologists. Anyone who wants to set up their own industry or something like that. You had said that you will face a lot of problems like paying for amenities and staff and such things. So those will be the never before encountered problems. So could you share one or two recent experiences that you have had or learnings that you have had in your journey with Path Ahead with our audience?
The one big blessing I had is the pandemic. I started I founded the Path Ahead during the pandemic, and many of my sessions could be done online.
Oh,
So I do have sessions with people from Indonesia or Singapore, and it's not physically possible for them to travel at this point in time. So many, or even anywhere else in India, travel has become very difficult these days. So online sessions work very well for me. But if I do have people visiting, securing premises for commercial use is actually double the rent, and I didn't know that. So when I started the venture, so because you have to put a board, then you have to pay the commercial electricity rates. I didn't know that. So those things add up to your expense. So those are a few things that I learned I need to deal with. Establishing a direct proprietorship for my business through the government organization, that was also something that needed to be done. So these are little things we don't realize will take up a lot of our time and energy. So you may have a passion for a career, not just for psychology, anything. If you have a passion for something, you wish to take it forward, and it helps to be very sure about the subject matter at least, so that then you can focus on the other things to establish yourself independently. But if the subject matter itself is an acquired skill, then the other things will actually add to our pressure. So that's where I would recommend starting. These are few things that I did not anticipate and I had to learn.
Right. Thank you, madam. I think we'll just close with one last question, if that's okay. This is from, I think, our own student, Navya. I'm sure I wish to pursue a career in HR. Okay. Okay. Yet I am conscious of leaving psychology and pursuing a career in management field. Okay, management. Okay. What challenges might I have to face if I leap and not for masters in organization psychology, but rather go for masters in management with HR as the specialization? So I think there's I mean, how a psychologist can switch over to management side. I think the question is related to that. Two different disciplines are being asked. So if you want me to repeat the question, I can.
I think I got the gist of it. Navya, you can tell me if I got your requirements right. So you were talking about management psychology, and especially in the field of human resources. So psychologists are a great fit for human resources for that particular reason. You understand human behavior, you inculcate empathy in your academic program, and you look forward to interacting with people. So you're generally sociable and relatable, and you have good communication skills. So that automatically qualifies you to be an excellent human resource personnel. In human resources, the things that we need to keep in mind anywhere when you venture into the real world, there is always compliance involved. So wherever we go, we have to be very mindful of the structure within which we work. So your question, I think, is on that, whether you will be a good fit for that structure or not is the question. That can only come through experience. So you have to give it a go and see how well you are able to fit into the box that the corporation draws, the corporate organization draws for you, and realize whether that is the right fit for you. Most of the careers in see, it's in my generation or in my parents' generation, there wasn't much of a choice to pick up a career where we had to finish education and immediately be employable. There wasn't an opportunity to explore whether that career was right for us or not, because we had expectations from our home. For this generation and for from here on forward, that is not the only case where we deal with the, because the basic necessities are taken care of by the parents. The students are a little bit more open to trying new things and experimenting and finding what they are good at and what makes them happy. So not just the monetary benefits of a career, it what really motivates them is their passion for the career. And how will we know the passion for a career when we are still an academician, or when we are still learning, or when we are still a student? We can only venture out into the real world and see whether we are the career is the right fit for us, and make a decision from there. So for your the things to keep in mind before moving into HR, to summarize, will be, yes, there will be rules and regulations under which you need to work on, because that is the expectation of a corporate environment. And any job you do, there will be things you will like, will love, will like, and will not like so much. So you can put them in these three categories. You will love certain things, you are okay with doing certain things, you like them, you enjoy doing them, and there will be things you just don't enjoy at all. So there is never going to be a role where you are going to do, you are going to enjoy everything you love. So give it a go, see how that works out for you. If it doesn't, you can always retract and start from the beginning, because you're still young and you have the world open to you. I hope it does, though, because you're a conscious person and thinking about and empathizing about the situation even before you venture into it. I think you will be a good fit.
Thank you, madam. There are a few more questions that I'm getting about the courses that CVV is offering. Neither of us are the proper authority to answer on that. Bhuvana is not faculty over here, and I, though I am in the School of Philosophy, Psychology and Scientific Heritage, I generally teach courses on philosophy and logic. So I request the participants to direct their questions to the admissions office, so admissions@cvv.ac.in. So you can contact them to get more clarity on the courses that are being offered. So if you email me also, I will have to forward it to them only. So you are better off contacting them directly. So I think we can close with this, madam. Thank you very much for the talk. It was very, very useful. As I said, it presented not only the classical opportunities available, but also the new age opportunities that are coming up for psychologists. And Bhuvana also mentioned that it is an upcoming area in India. So there are a lot of opportunities. And I also thank the participants for their patient hearing and also for the questions that they were asking. So IT team and Bhuvana, thank you once again for your
thank you.
Yeah, thank you.